The Israeli war on Gaza enters its 7th month as mediators in Cairo continue to push for a ceasefire deal. 2 years passed since the founding of the Presidential Leadership Council, and the political scene in Yemen remains in turmoil. United Nations recent report says a child dies every 10 minutes in Yemen due to hunger. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English News with me, Shazab Delbei. The Israeli military said it has withdrawn all ground troops from southern Gaza, except for one brigade as the war entered its 7th month on Sunday. The U.S. and other negotiators were expected to join representatives of Israel and Hamas in Cairo in a renewed push for a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Egypt's Al-Qahira News said CIA Director Bill Burns and Qatari Prime Minister would join Egyptian mediators for Sunday's indirect talks between the Israeli and Hamas delegations. The death toll in the Gaza Strip has risen to more than 33,000, the majority of whom were women and children. Sources added that the number of injured people rose to more than 75,000 people, while thousands are still missing under the rubble. The executive director of UNICEF, Catherine Russell, said the scale and pace of destruction in the Gaza Strip is shocking. Russell confirmed that the Gaza war caused the death of more than 13,000 children and injured countless number of people. The UN official called for a ceasefire in Gaza and said that homes, schools, and hospitals are destroyed, warning that famine in Gaza is imminent. After 2 years of establishing the Presidential Leadership Council, some observers viewed it as a decisive turning point in Yemen, as it came after 8 years of the war. This report has more details.
2 years have passed since the declaration of the 8-member Presidential Leadership Council. This came after former President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi unexpectedly transferred his power to the new body on April 7, 2022. This followed days of Saudi-led negotiations sponsored by the Gulf Cooperation Council. The establishment of the PLC was viewed as a decisive turning point, following 7 years of conflict and the failure of the Hadi leadership in managing the crisis politically and militarily. The former Yemeni presidency had failed miserably in tackling the economic and services issues. In addition, its inability to keep under control of the political and military parties allied to it and its relentless pursuit to fight the Houthis on the ground led to the creation of intra-conflict. One positive thing about the PLC is that it has put together various leaders who have different interests and ambitions, and most of them enjoy legitimacy and influence on the ground, despite the importance of having a balanced stage, with 4 members from South and 4 from North, which brings together all different parties. This structure of opposites has constituted a big political, military, and economic challenge over the past 2 years. Moreover, the latest escalatory developments in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden as a result of the Israeli war on Gaza have basically postponed any peace talks in Yemen. This is particularly related to the fact that regional countries, for most of which Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the UAE have been reluctant to engage in any new naval alliance that would restrain the Houthis. The impact of establishment of the equally divided PLC between North and South hasn't been a magical or a good solution to the Yemeni crisis, which has been going on for 3 decades. This is despite the relative positive progress in the South issue. This issue was relatively delayed till reaching an agreement over a transitional phase and a subsequent comprehensive dialogue.
European Union renewed support for the UN-led efforts to establish peace in Yemen and protect international freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. In addition, Joseph Borrell, the UE Foreign Policy Coordinator, said the Union is determined to continue addressing common challenges and unifying efforts to achieve peace and stability in Yemen, including protecting freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. British security firm Ambrey said it received information indicating that a vessel was attacked on Sunday in the Gulf of Aden. A missile landed near a vessel in the Gulf of Aden on Sunday, but there was no damage to the ship or injuries to crew in the incident. The terrorist Houthi militia targeted the coastal city of Mecca with a missile. An official source in Mecca said the missile landed in an empty area on the outskirts of the city north of the district center. The source added that the missile created a crater 3 meters deep and did not cause any human or material losses. One child was killed and 2 others were injured when a landmine exploded east of Hodeidah. Sources reported that a mine planted by the Houthi militia exploded among children as they were fetching water from a well. Civilian casualties are reported on almost daily basis in Yemen as a result of the explosion of mines planted by the Houthi militia in many areas. The Houthi militia suffered heavy losses in life and equipment after confrontations with the joint forces northwest of Adala province. Military sources said units of the joint forces fought violent confrontations against groups affiliated with the Houthi militia as they attempted to infiltrate positions on Qataba district. The joint forces forced the infiltrating Houthi groups to retreat after suffering heavy losses in life and equipment. The Omani police stopped a smuggling operation of a shipment of electric devices that was heading to Yemen. The General Administration of Customs in Oman said the customs police were able to stop the smuggling of more than 2,000 electric devices through a shipment that was heading towards Yemen. An international report warned that 1 Yemeni child dies every 10 minutes due to hunger. This comes as Red Sea crisis escalates, risking delivery of humanitarian aid to more than 18 million Yemenis. This report has more details.
Rashad Al-Alimi, president of the Presidential Leadership Council, stressed on Saturday the need to make optimal use of UN assistance to improve the living conditions of local communities in Yemen. Al-Alimi's statement came while 2 reports revealed that 1 child dies every 10 minutes from hunger in Yemen, and 89% of internally displaced in Yemen are unable to meet their daily food need, and more than 20 million people require humanitarian assistance. The Islamic Relief said that after 9 years of conflict, malnutrition rates in Yemen are some of the highest ever recorded, with more than 20.7 million people in need of humanitarian aid to survive, and with a child dying every 10 minutes from hunger. The organization said families in Yemen are facing ongoing armed conflict, displacement, disease, and economic decline. It also noted malnutrition is spiraling in Yemen as people begin to feel the impact of recent cuts to humanitarian aid, leaving many families unable to afford essential food. Islamic Relief said 17.6 million people in Yemen are facing food insecurity. The organization said that nearly 80% of the population live below the poverty line in the country, while the price of essential food in the market is rising rapidly. It added that after 9 years of war, malnutrition rates in Yemen are some of the highest ever recorded and are expected to worsen. Around 2.7 million women and 5 million children under 5 years old are estimated to require treatment for acute malnutrition in 2024. Islamic Relief then urgently appealed to the international community to ensure the humanitarian response in Yemen is appropriately funded.
Coming next in the news. The Saleh Foundation concludes delivery of Ramadan cash assistance to war-affected Yemenis in Taiz province.
رمضان مبارك.
Welcome back. On its fourth day, a Saleh Development Foundation concluded distributing Ramadan aid, which targeted nearly 2,000 displaced and needy families in Taiz. This report has more details.
نحن ناجحون في مخيم الظهرة في مديرية المسراخ.
We thank Saleh Foundation for helping us, especially the displaced, in the holy month of Ramadan.
اليوم نحن بمدرسة الشهيد الحكيمي.
The foundation provided us with funds. We thank Al Saleh Foundation for this step.
هذه المخيمات كانت في
We have selected a number of camps for the displaced people in the governorate to hand them over the funds. We thank Ambassador Ahmad Saleh for these efforts to help the displaced families.
As Eid al-Fitr sets in, Yemeni families struggle to secure the basic Eid necessities. Yet hike in prices and hard living conditions have made it difficult for families to secure Eid needs. This report has more details.
As soon as the time of Eid approaches, worries rise and sadness descends upon most parents and guardians in this religious occasion. A number of holiday requirements such as purchasing clothes and other things which are considered necessary obligations that fall on their shoulders and create heavy burdens for them.
Citizens have been suffering over the past years until now from the increasing prices and the collapse of the currency. They are unable to provide all the Eid requirements for their children. The month of Ramadan and Eid have many requirements, and the government didn't find economic solutions and didn't provide the citizen with their basic needs on these occasions.
Shabwa, like any other governorate of the Republic, is where most parents are unable to make their children happy by providing their Eid needs, especially those poor people with limited income and the unemployed, as the deteriorating living conditions worsen, a time in which the citizen suffers from the high prices and the interruption of salaries.
أعباء العيد أو تكاليف خاصة من ناحية الملابس.
Eid requirements are many. You know that anyone in Yemen supports 5 or 6 children, and people's economic situation is very difficult due to the collapse of the currency and the political conflict. The burdens have increased on us, and all the people who came here cannot buy anything for their children because the prices are high. I wonder to whom we appeal our miserable situation. As a parent, if I have 5 or 6 children, how can I buy Eid clothes while the prices are expensive? Is it reasonable for me to borrow from the people in order to meet Eid requirements? I am shocked by these high costs.
In the past years, religious festivals had ecstasy, flavor, and rituals that filled hearts with joy, unlike what is happening today in a time of war, economic collapse, and deteriorating living conditions, which were the reason for robbing the joy of Eid from the hearts of the people.
A recent UN report showed that the prices of basic food commodities is going to rise starting next month. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization said prices of the basic food commodities are expected to rise throughout Yemen, starting in May due to the indirect effects of the Red Sea crisis. The United Nations warned that Yemen is going to witness a wave of harsh weather and heavy rains, which is going to aggravate the suffering of Yemenis, especially the displaced families. This report has more details.
The FAO has issued a warning of heavy rains and severe floods in the central highlands of Yemen, with over 14,000 people affected by conflict and floods in the past 3 months. The warning bulletin predicts an increase in precipitation rates throughout Yemen, with the risk of major floods continuing and expanding across the governorates until the end of this month. The bulletin also warns of potential storms in vulnerable areas in Hadramaut Governorate. The FAO warns of increased risk of lives, livelihoods, agriculture, and other sectors, including health, water, sanitation, transportation, and communications. The warning also extends to agriculture pests, with higher than usual estimates of pests in the Yemeni plains, providing suitable conditions for desert locust breeding. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees reported that the United Nations Rapid Response Mechanism recorded displacement of a large number of Yemeni individuals due to armed conflict and climate-related disasters. The United Nations Population Fund led to Rapid Response Mechanism, providing life-saving assistance to 96% of registered individuals in 14 affected governments, including 31% of families headed by women. The Humanitarian Response Plan for Yemen allows families to receive one-time multi-purpose cash assistance and one-time general food distribution. In Marib Governorate, 6,495 families were affected by heavy rains. Heavy rains caused floods in 204 camps and displacement sites in Marib, causing 253 families to be completely damaged and 6,200 families to be partially damaged. The government unit is urgently requesting food, shelter, clothing, and sanitation for the affected families. They urge humanitarian organizations to intervene, protect camps from disasters, and review shelters interventions to ensure they are suitable for harsh climatic and desert conditions. This will help avoid future risks and damages.
Cholera cases in the Mud have risen to more than 400 cases and 13 deaths since the beginning of Ramadan. Medical sources said infection cases have increased significantly since the middle of the holy month of Ramadan by 150%. The sources added that the number of hospitals launched appeals to the authorities but met with delayed response. The Public Health and Population Office in Taiz announced emergency measures to respond to the outbreak of cholera cases. The authorities recorded 188 cases, including 100 confirmed cases. The Governor's Health Office indicated that the measures included allocating 5 emergency centers to treat cases, in addition to opening an intensive care department with a capacity of 20 beds for critical cases. Here's a reminder of the main headlines. The Israeli war on Gaza enters its 7th month as mediators in Cairo continue to push for a ceasefire deal. 2 years passed since the founding of the Presidential Leadership Council, and the political scene in Yemen remains in turmoil. United Nations recent report says a child dies every 10 minutes in Yemen due to hunger. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.